Facebook Chief Operating Officer Sheryl Sandberg and Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey testified on Capitol Hill this morning. They faced questions on election meddling. They addressed also foreign influences like Russia and were asked about censorship. Senate Intel Committee Vice Chairman Mark Warner explained why lawmakers are seeking reassurances from these top tech companies.
Now, each of you have come a long way with respect to recognizing the threat. We've seen important action by your companies to make political advertising more transparent, and we discussed this yesterday, by complying with the terms Senator Klobuchar and I put forward in the Honest Ads Act. In addition, as the chairman mentioned, since last September, you have identified and removed some bad actors from your platforms. The bad news, I'm afraid, is that there's still a lot of work to do, and I'm skeptical that ultimately you'll be able to truly address this challenge on your own. I believe Congress is going to have to act.
Well, Sandberg and Dorsey both admitted that their companies had shortcomings in fighting foreign interference during the 2016 election, but they tried to convince lawmakers that their platforms are better prepared for this year's midterms.
Free and fair elections are the foundation of any democracy. As Americans, they are part of our national identity. And that's why it's incumbent upon all of us to do all we can to protect our democratic process. That includes Facebook. We were too slow to spot this and too slow to act. That is on us.
We're extremely proud of helping to increase the accessibility and velocity of a simple, free, and open exchange. We believe people will learn faster by being exposed to a wide range of opinions and ideas, and it helps make our nation and the world feel a little bit smaller. We are proud of how that free and open exchange has been weaponized and used to distract and divide people and our nation. We found ourselves unprepared and ill-equipped for the immensity of the problems that we've acknowledged. Abuse, harassment, troll armies, propaganda through bots and human coordination, misinformation campaigns, and divisive filter bubbles. That's not a healthy public square.
CNET News executive editor Ian Sherr joins me now from Capitol Hill. So, Ian, you heard those comments from Senator Mark Warner at the opening of that hearing. Congress is saying that they're going to take action here. What would that look like for companies like Facebook and Twitter?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question. Nobody knows what it looks like. You know, there's talk about possible legislation and regulation. We know about the Honest Ads Act, which would require that tech companies basically follow the same rules about political advertising that television and radio have. But beyond that, it's really unclear. And it's been that way since even beginning of this year. There's been talk about GDPR, which is the privacy rules in Europe, possibly bringing a version of that to the United States. But beyond that, all we hear is just people kind of rattling their sabers, but no real ideas moving down the pike.
You know, Ian, no real ideas from Capitol Hill, but then you look at Facebook, Twitter, and Google together. They say, okay, we self-regulated in a way. We took down hundreds of accounts linked to Russia and Iran last month. How big of a talking point was that for them on Capitol Hill today? And what other steps did the tech executives say that they've done?
That is the talking point they were relying on, telling Congress, look, since April, when Mark Zuckerberg was on the Hill and being questioned about all these things, they are already trying to take care of these things. And to their credit, Facebook and Twitter and a few others have been starting to really show that they are on it as much as they can be, and showing us the accounts they're shutting down, times that they see that there's election interference trying to be done even during the midterms, and trying to proactively go after that. But is it enough? That's the larger question. And there are already media reports out there of people who've been able to poke holes in all these efforts to tamp down on these problems. And it just seems to be an issue that is beyond anyone's control, which is part of the feeling that I got from the end of the hearing.
I was going to ask you that. You know, these methods that Sandberg and Dorsey are saying that they're doing to try to be proactive, how was it met by these skeptical lawmakers?
I mean, at one point or another, it just felt like we were going through a list of things that are complaints of Congress that the tech companies kind of have a handle on or have an answer for, but no real solution to. And that's part of the problem that we're dealing with here, is that these are really hairy issues, and they are not easy to solve. But it seems as though no one has any even beginnings of the solutions here. At this point, the tech industry is spending a lot of time acknowledging that they have these problems and showing the bits of ways that they're trying to resolve it, but no real, honest, full solutions.
You know, Google's parent company, Alphabet, today declined to actually send its top executive. Here's what Senator Warner had to say about that.
I have to say, though, I'm deeply disappointed that Google, one of the most influential digital platforms in the world, chose not to send its own top corporate leadership to engage this committee. Because I know our members have a series of difficult questions about structural vulnerabilities on a number of Google's platforms that we need answers for. From Google Search, which continues to have problems surfacing absurd conspiracies, to YouTube, where Russian-backed disinformation agents promoted hundreds of divisive videos, to Gmail, where state-sponsored operatives attempted countless hacking attempts. Google has an immense responsibility in this space. Given its size and influence, I would have thought that leadership at Google would have wanted to demonstrate how seriously it takes these challenges and to actually take a leadership role in this important discussion.
Harsh words, Ian. So why didn't Google send anybody?
That is, again, a really big question. It is so unclear what Google was thinking. They did offer up one of their executives who was not the CEO or C-suiter, and the Senate committee declined and said, no, we want someone who is a CEO. We want someone who is in charge. And Google decided not to send anyone. And the Senate responded by having an empty chair and a little placard that said Google on it, and they yelled at it for hours on end. And I think it really goes to show that there is a bubbling frustration at Google that is not going to go away, that's happening on this in lawmakers.
That empty chair said so much. I want to also ask you, Ian, about Twitter's Jack Dorsey, who is facing questions about Twitter's algorithms and why conservatives really are accusing that platform of political bias and censorship. Why is that? Did he have any answers to that?
It's really hard to tell. I mean, look, at the end of the day, the tech companies are trying to find a solution to all of this, but it has taken them so long to acknowledge that this is a problem that on some level it feels like they're still trying to get their arms around it. And so finding real solutions to it, again, I mean, there are media reports out there that are showing that people are able to poke holes in what they're trying to do, and it just feels like there's really no real solution to all of this yet.
That says a lot. Ian, sure. Thank you so much for joining us from these hearings, Ian.
My pleasure.